Hi guys, in this video we will debrief question Gare University from the March-June 2023 exam. Okay friends, let's find question Gare University on the ACCA Practice Platform on TestReach. You know what to do here, I'm pretty sure. So you go to APM, look for the exam. That one was from the March-June 23 sitting, so you assign it to yourself and look for the self-assigned material on the left hand side. Looking for APM here. Okay, so March, June 2023. Let's start. You know, you've practiced by now on the practice platform, I'm pretty sure, for your other exams, but you know that you should practice even for APM, even though you don't get to do too much fancy stuff. Please try to make sure you get some good practice, good quantity of questions. You don't have to do every single question on the practice platform, especially given that you don't have too much fun with Excel, but you do need to have done a decent amount of questions on the practice platform. Not to read the instructions every time once you learn them, although there is hardly much to learn that you don't know already, but then just practice. Your preparation should be done as closely as possible in the same way that you would be sitting the real exam. Okay, all right, so section A, we don't want to do section A, we want to go to section B because that question is a 25 marker and I'll tell you straight away it's question 3. So we go to question 3 to find Gare University. Okay, so how do we make the most of the practice platform? Again, I don't want to insult your intelligence because I know it's probably your final exam that you're doing or one of the last, so you probably know, but still, let me demonstrate to you this bit, okay? As always, we do what we're used to doing. We open our word processor, our answering field. We adjust it slightly because we want to split into the screen so we can read the exhibits and type at the same time. We don't want to have to flip through the screens, so you can adjust the size of the window and put it to one side. Then the next exhibit we want is the one with the requirements. So we're going to click on that and move it to the left. So we can find the main requirements. They're not the embedded ones, but remember what we do is we use them for our, just to set up the main headings, to be aware of how many marks, how many ideas we need for each one of them. So, you know, you can copy and paste them directly. It's not like you must do that, because even if you copy and paste them into your word processor, that's not going to add much value, if any at all, to your answer. But if you do it, at least that is likely to make it easier for you. Like I said, you get the main headings, you know how many ideas. You still will need to put your own headings further down, okay? And you may want to get rid of them number of marks later before you end the exam if you have time. But so we have to talk about the examination performance model, we have to talk about the performance measurement of lecturers, and we have to talk about the My Program app. Look how relevant real life APM exam is. Can you see? Anyway, that doesn't tell us much as to what exactly we have to do. So we know that next thing from here is to find the exhibits which relate to these requirements, to find the embedded requirements and put our headings, subheadings in. So for part A, we want to find the one called examination performance model. Now we've got this exhibit. Again, what we want to do is adjust the size and place it in a way that makes it easy for us to look at things. Maybe we want to zoom in a little bit. And did you guys notice what I've just done? I didn't, when I put it to my left hand side, I didn't put it all the way up. Why? Because if I do that, I'm covering here this toolbar and I'm going to have to highlight. So I need to drop it down just underneath it. So it's big enough, I can see, but I can highlight as well. Let's find the requirement regarding examination performance model. What do they want us to do? Well, looking for the requirement, there's no CEO here. We are given tasks by the Dean. So here you go. The Dean has asked you as the performance management expert to specifically comment on the views of the two lecturers. Okay, that's one thing. Comment on the views of the lecturers. And there's another task here, not just comment, but make a recommendation as to whether the additional variables suggested should be included. Okay, so 2 tasks here regarding the examination performance model. What do we do? Well, one subheading could be the comment on the views of the lecturers, so lecturers' views. And the other one is the recommendation. Okay, sounds good to me. For now, we want to close this. We don't want to look at that anymore. We want to find out what is for, in the other requirements. Put more subheadings in, get our structure in. Once we have the skeleton, we can build up on it. So again, you want to adjust this window size, zoom in a little bit, put it to the side. Shouldn't take you that long. Look, shouldn't be that hard to do. Okay, so what about the lecturer performance model? Oh, sorry, lecturer performance measurement is what I wanted to say, of course. So what do we need to do? What does the dean want from us? Suggested something. There you go. The dean has asked you what? To assess these concerns. Okay. And then it says, and recommend. So again, we have an assessment and then a recommendation. Let's highlight them as 2 parts. So one is assess these concerns. Okay, concerns assessment. And then the other part, the other task is to recommend with justification. Of course, we don't just recommend, do we? Whether her suggestion for measuring lecturers' performance should go ahead. Okay, so we'll just call it recommendation. We don't want to write the whole thing. Okay, so we can underline those. We have our subheadings for part B, at least the initial ones. And part C, my app program. Let's close this, find the exhibit for my app, push it to the side. You know what we're doing, adjust, pull it down a bit. Okay, or maybe don't make it too big so you can actually pull it down. And let's find out what we need to do here. The dean has also heard of a scheme. Okay. The dean believes. Okay. So it's at the very end, isn't it? The dean has asked you to do what? To assess if you believe these concerns are justified. Okay, so that's our job here. Again, more concerns assessment. So concerns about what? Well, if you wish, while you're still here, you may actually look inside this, because it just says concerns, whether these concerns are justified, but what are the concerns about? It still doesn't tell us too much about that, right? I suppose if we're going to be assessing it, we have to be thinking about what is good, what is bad, presumably about this app called My Program App, yeah? So they have concerns about it, and what is good about the app, what is bad about the app, and overall, are they justified or not? Remember, we're looking for professional marks as well as for technical marks here, and we want to score well on the analysis and evaluation professional scale. Okay. And probably here, where we have more concerns to assess in part B, while we're looking at that, we can put good, bad, overall. And I don't know whether you want to actually remove the underline, because this is, just for presentation purposes. It doesn't matter too much, okay? But this all relates to the concerns assessment, doesn't it? Okay. So let's see, what is it about this My Program app? What concerns? And I think it's in the same last paragraph, isn't it? Some lecturers have argued that the student data could be used in an unethical way with this app. Unethical use of student data with the app. Okay. So is the app used ethical or not? Or ethically using the student data? Okay. Well, we don't want to read the whole thing yet, okay? let's just have a look at the other exhibits, because here we had concerns regarding the assessment of the concerns of lecturers, but what was that about? We didn't get much idea, did we? Just assess whether the concerns of the lecturers are justified and whether her suggestion should go ahead. So what do these concerns relate to? Again, in the last paragraph, the lecturers, however, are concerned and have suggested that this narrow focus on the two activities specified above could be damaging to lecturer behavior and ultimately the student's learning experience. Okay, so we can think about lecturer behavior, we can think about student learning experience here. Okay, and then for the first one, where we had lecturers' views and recommendation, well, what are their views? Well, to be fair, I think we've already done the generic bit, haven't we? Because anything else we want to do, we have to read more within each of the exhibits, and we are getting directly into the scenario. And I don't know what you guys are thinking, but having realized what this is about, and this is a rather different APM question, isn't it? It's not something that we're used to seeing time and time again, but it's still very relevant and very interesting. And I wouldn't say it's difficult either, it's just different. And maybe what makes it a tiny bit harder is the fact that, unlike many other questions where we've got our structure in, just like we've done it here, we look at our headings and subheadings, and there are some ideas which jump like this right out of them at us, and we just think, oh, we can use this, we can use that, and we start our brainstorming by putting down quickly a few general ideas. Then we read the scenario and we add some specifics. Here, is there anything at all that we can come up with just by looking at those headings and subheadings? And I'm pretty sure you're saying, not really. I mean, we need to know what exactly the concerns are, what exactly has caused them, so it all has to be in context. We don't know why they think this app could be used in an unethical way. What does the app do? Who's going to use it? It's just nothing really could be said that would be, true in general terms, and that could be helpful to us here. So in that sense, this question is really very scenario specific, which you may think it's a bad thing because it doesn't give us general ideas, but I can tell you it's a good thing, because if you think about what these requirements are and you go through the question, you go through whatever's happening in the scenario and think very carefully about the issues in there, and you just think, how can I resolve this bit, that bit, without even thinking about knowledge you have learned, how you can reproduce specific knowledge, which knowledge is it that you have to extract and put down here. If you just go into it like this is your job, you've been hired by the dean of this university, that's what's happening in the university, that's what their issues are, how can you help them? I think you can do a pretty good job, and that must be a good thing, yeah? But for that, you just need to have your mind not panicking and thinking, oh my gosh, I've never practiced a question like this. This is like, there's nothing to get me started, and so on. Trust me. Your common sense, your commercial acumen, and your professional knowledge and judgment should be able to get you quite far away. Okay? So, with that, having said that, let's look at the organizational information first. Okay, in the same way we do everything here. Let's drop it to the left. Let's zoom it in, having adjusted the size so we can easily read what's happening here. So Gare University is a university in Bieland. Oh, one thing to note here, guys, it's a private fee-paying university, yeah? Private fee-paying university. So it's not like the public sector. It's not a non-for-profit organization, if you wish, okay? And this sector is highly competitive in Bieland. The lecturers at GU are under pressure to ensure that students perform well, Though currently pass rates are high for most of the individual courses offered at GU, but there is a trend of students not performing well in the final examination. So, their objective, if you wish, of the lecturers is to ensure that students perform well, isn't it? They're under pressure to ensure that. And it is especially down to the final examination. Assessment of students at GU is consistent across most courses and comprises of midterm coursework, assignment and an end-of-term final examination. Final grade is in combination of marks achieved. Okay, well, to be fair, that is to set the scene, isn't it? Okay, from here I do not see anything that I believe I could be using in either the lecturer's views or the recommendations or anything. This really is background and setting the scene. The only thing I suppose is that, you know, the objective of ensuring students perform well. So let's have a look now again at part A, that exhibit, and I'm looking at part A simply because I don't think I picked up much about what the lecturer's views were. We had to assess them, didn't we? Yeah? To comment on the views of the lecturers and make a recommendation, but we didn't realize what their views were. So maybe it would be good to try to have a look at what the lecturer's views are. And we can see one lecturer has argued that some important variables have been omitted. And she has suggested that student grades on entry to the university and performance in previous university courses are variables which should be included. So we've got two variables here, two variables which are missing, and one lecturer is saying they should be included, while the other one is saying, oh, that's the lecturer's views, isn't it? Yeah. So the other one is saying it would be unhelpful to include any more variables into the model. So one is saying these are missing, add them in. The other one is saying no, we already have too many, it wouldn't help. And we have to assess their concerns, yeah? We have to discuss their views, if you wish, and recommend whether those should be included or not. Okay. Well, what do we say then? I think we probably have to have a look here. Oh gosh, look at this. If you just scroll up, you will notice what this is saying. So to help develop a predictive model, they've chosen representative data set, okay? And they have identified the following main variables. Look at how many. I'm not even so interested in what exactly they are, but look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, what do you guys think if you have to add another couple? That's going to take the total of variables to almost 10. And they should be used in a predictive model to try to establish some sort of correlation, some sort of relationship. And even though I haven't read the rest, I'm thinking they already have quite a lot, and adding some more could really lead to too many and make it hard to establish a relationship. So, okay, I'm not giving my final recommendation, okay, whether to include or not the two variables. But when I'm thinking about the lecturer's views, as you can see, one is for including the two variables, the other one is against. So maybe we can try to look at both sides, obviously with justification, and say what is good about including the variables, what is bad, and then give our overall recommendation based on what we've discussed there. So I straight away got the idea that what is bad is that there's already too many. Adding more could make it too hard to establish a reliable correlation. Then I've got one idea in, I'm feeling good about myself. Then I can think, if you don't get a reliable correlation in a model that aims to predict the results, then that could mean that you get a misleading prediction, yeah? So you expect one result and something completely different turns out. Okay. Well, what is this predictive model about anyway? So the dean is looking at ways in which the final examination mark can be improved. Well, we are not surprised because we noticed that this was the one where they were struggling a bit, yeah? Given certain variables. So she decided to use that model. Okay. So yeah, there isn't too much more to add. So shall we think about that? Let's think about those specific variables which are missing. Okay, because until now I made that comment that it was just about the quantity, yes? It was just about the quantity, but we didn't think about what these variables are about. What do they relate to? So one was student grades on entry to the university. They should be considered. Student grades on entry to the university. The other one, performance in previous university courses. So when students enter into that GU, it would be important what grade they score upon entry. And that should be able to help decide whether these people are likely to do well in their final examination or not, according to that lecturer. And also how well they performed in past university courses. She's saying if they performed well, it's likely they will perform well again. So what do we think about that? Is that going to be helpful or not? Anything good about adding those? Anything bad? And you are most welcome to come up with either good or bad, whatever comes to your mind straight away while you're thinking. Okay? Good, bad, ugly? Well, maybe it could be helpful. I don't think it's going to be very helpful overall, but I'm thinking it could be helpful if you consider the entry-level grades, yeah? Because good ones could show strong foundation. And indeed, you could argue that someone who's got a strong foundation to build upon are likely to perform well. So maybe that would make prediction reliable, that these people are likely to do well. And similarly, poor grades, they could show students who might need additional support. And then you see, if some students need extra support and that support is provided to them during the course, maybe their performance will improve and they will do well in the final examination. So you can add something along those lines. To improve final examination performance. Okay. But to be fair, I can't think of anything else which is going to be good and used there. By the way, note that there's only 5 marks on offer. Did you notice this? 5 marks means about 5 ideas. Yeah? And we already have here a couple. That 1, 3, 4 even if you think about both. We need a recommendation. So what do you think? Anything else that you don't quite like about it? What do you think? Do you think necessarily that a good entry grade means that the student who scored it will do really well during their qualification and the final exam? And do you think that the previous courses that they've studied are actually good representation? Just because someone did well in another course in another uni, are they going to do well in this course in this university? And I have the feeling that both the relevance and the reliability of those is a bit questionable, don't you think? So I'm just going to add it and I'm going to put it on top of my list of what is not so good about it, yeah? Relevance and reliability of data. They're questionable. Why do I think that? Well, firstly, has everyone been to a previous university course? Because maybe not all students have been, and that is not going to then represent everybody. It's not going to be applicable to everybody, if you think about that, yeah? maybe not possible. Also, what about those previous courses? One could have been in a uni studying science, another one could have been in a uni studying arts, and in this uni they could be studying engineering. I mean, can you compare? Is it comparing like with like? And does it have much to do with the current qualification? So absolutely, I would say not, yeah? So, possible inconsistency in previous courses, and possibly not relevant to the current qualification. So they're unlikely to be a reliable and relevant representation of performance. And with that, I think I have plenty for part A for the 5 marks on offer. Yeah. So happy to move on from that. Happy to close this exhibit, thinking I've already said enough. And now time to think about some other bits and pieces. And you know, you could go in order. Now, if you wish, you can look at the lecturer's performance here for 8 marks. Or if you are someone who is tech savvy and who uses lots of different apps, you may want to look at the My App thing first. And I'm pretty much tempted to do just that, okay? So it was whether the app could be used in an unethical way. And I have the feeling that I might be able to come up with ideas quite easily, because we all know about how we sometimes are asked to consent to something, even with Google. If you want to use Google search, for example, you either agree to their terms and conditions and you use it, or you don't agree and you don't use it. So let's try to find out what exactly is happening here, okay? The dean has heard of that scheme being used at another university in which, look at this, all students have to download the university's My Program app to their mobile phones. So that is compulsory for all students, isn't it? And she wants to introduce this at GU. This would be part of the induction process. So you would think that they would be told about that. And that would be for both new and continuing students. Okay. So students have to give their consent to the university's conditions and regulations when they are asked to sign the paperwork during the induction process. So far, so good. So they're taught about this. They have to understand what the terms and conditions are, and they have to sign. But look at this. What are we told next? Next we are told, though these conditions and regulations are read in full by few, if any, students. Wait a second. So it's a little bit like they're given lots of paperwork, and that paperwork does contain the terms and conditions regarding this My Program app, but in reality, almost no one, if anybody at all, actually reads those terms and conditions, and almost nobody, if anybody at all, understands what is happening there. So straight away, I'm thinking I've got some ideas as to why this is not a great thing. Yes? Because to me it sounds like students don't really give consent to that, or most students, yeah, don't give consent, even though they sign. They're not aware, because they're not reading that, yeah. And that is not very ethical. You must make sure they're totally and truly aware, okay? Okay. All students must have gone through the induction process to undertake any learning or assessment activities. So wait a second, if somebody read the terms and conditions and they didn't want to agree to that, could they still study at the university without downloading the app? Back to the opening sentence, all students have to download the university's My Program app. So it looks like not only that most don't give consent because they don't even realize about it, but those who do realize and don't like it, it seems like they have no opting out possibility here, yeah? So it looks like it's mandatory. So there is no chance to opt out and still study it too. That's not very ethical, is it? Just like Google, like I told you, yeah? Okay, by the way, I just realized that when we left part A, we didn't actually give our recommendation. We said what was good, what was bad, and we forgot to drop that in. And don't worry, if this happens to you in the exam, go back and do it before you forget, because you may think, oh, shall I just continue now with the flow I'm into regarding the next part? You can if you wish, actually, because, I mean, if you forgot to put the recommendation completely, but you had a heading, you would still get a mark for your professional skills, but you will miss out on the technical mark. But if you can put the recommendation, that would be such an easy technical mark you would score as well, so long as it's in line with what you discussed. And I think we said it was mostly bad, wasn't it? About those extra variables that really they don't seem to be that necessary, yeah? So they don't appear as essential. Could be added if you wish, but I think that is going to be, no, maybe they shouldn't be added, probably not. Keep them out, yeah? If you want to maintain reliability and relevance, I would say. Maybe they can be sent to the students. I mean, not to the students. Maybe they can be sent to the lecturers, so they're aware where to concentrate their efforts or where to put extra effort. I would say don't use in the predictive model. Yeah, due to limited reliability and relevance. There you go. So I put that in. I don't want to miss out on 1 mark. Who knows? 1 mark could be all the difference between 49 and 50. Okay, and back to our My App application here, my program application, that we thought that it doesn't seem very ethical so far. Okay, so far I've not found anything good about it. I don't know if you have found anything, but okay, let's keep reading and see what else we find out in the question. So the app can track students' movements. Whew, isn't that nice? So it says that it registers when students are on campus, highlights where on the university campus they are at any given time, and when they leave. Guys, are you feeling scared a little bit? Because I'm totally not keen on anybody to be able to track all my movements. Why should they anyway? And then you can start thinking straight away, is that going to be, is it safe enough? Well, it probably is safe enough, but who knows? I mean, anyway, let's keep reading. So for them to track the movements, they must have some purpose. You can't just track them for no reason. So the data is also shared with, wait a second, the data is also shared with all the catering outlets on the campus. Ah, okay. The outlets can use the data to send students a range of personalized messages. Okay, so maybe something good about it then is that that could, I suppose, allow for a data pile to be built, don't you think? Yeah? And data pile is useful, isn't it? It's like an asset that is created, but then this asset needs to be protected, yes? So I'll put straight away under the bad ones, issues regarding security over data pile. So if misused or data leaked, could it be harmful to students? You could question that, yeah? Are they able to protect the data at GU properly? Okay, the data pile they've created. Data pile is good in the sense that it allows to understand student behavior better, yeah? And then if they're able to send them messages, personalized messages, perhaps it could help with communication, another one of our PM elements. It could have improved relevance if you wish, because they're personal messages targeted. to the individual student. Okay. So what do they say? For example, if the phone has remained stationary for over an hour, then a message can be sent directly to it to advise the student to take a break and have a coffee. Oh, wait a second. What if the student is sleeping? You're going to bother them? What if they've just started studying and concentrating? Right, these messages. Okay, it could improve communication, but what if somebody doesn't want to be receiving messages? Could it be spam if messages are not welcome by students? Could it be disruptive if studying or sleeping and getting messages that interrupt the flow? Okay, other messages highlighting the lunch options for the next day are sent to the students who spend most days on campus. Is that good? Bad? It's probably good, right? If you understand their behavior and tastes and preferences, yeah, could offer better tailored solutions, even if that's meals and so on, right? Don't you think? If you know what they like, then you can, from that big data, then you can find out what you need to offer more on campus. And maybe if you have happy caterers, you can have happy students as well, or happy students, happy caterers, yeah? Probably. Because of the better matching between supply and demand. Okay. However, if they're highlighting the next day lunch options and it's the outlets, the catering outlets that benefit from the data, I have the feeling that this is really going to, it's trying more to help them make more money rather than help the student, really. Yeah, I would say under the bad thing, it seems like more helpful to the catering outlets rather than the students. Yeah. Okay, the outlets can use the data to build profiles of individual students and their meal preferences. Oh, there you go, exactly what we were saying, okay? Wonderful stuff. Oh, by the way, there's 7 marks on offer, and I have the feeling we already have plenty of ideas, yeah? And I think, yeah, actually we have gone through the important information. We are told here that the dean believes this is important to show that they care about the students. But look at this, there is one key moment here. She also feels that this will boost revenues for the catering outlets by giving them the chance to sell their products directly to students. Yep, that money-making point. Yeah, as if it is aiming to boost revenues, isn't it? Rather than help students. Okay, good. That's interesting. We are done. Overall, what do you think about the app? Should they use it? Should they not? Should they introduce it? Should they not? I think some students could quite like it. But I think, personally, that it should not be made compulsory and students must absolutely be made aware of exactly what this is and its implications, yeah? So some students might like it, could introduce it, but not mandatory, or give option to opt out, if you wish to say it this way, and ensure that everyone is well aware of what it is and its implications. So consent is properly given, yeah? And so we seem to be done with A and C. Let's look again at part B. Now, you know, I normally like to look at the whole question and keep going and dropping things in, but it's somehow, you know, this given that this is a slightly different question, it somehow rendered itself this way. So regarding the lecturer performance, what was it? There were some concerns, and we had to assess them and make a recommendation. Concerns was about the narrow focus on 2 activities specified above, and that could be damaging to the behavior of lecturers and the performance of students. Okay, what are those 2 activities? What is this about? Let's find out. Recent use of the predictive model for a course. Notice that those students who spent more time on the virtual learning platform, that's one thing, and who assessed a larger number of activities, that's the second thing, they performed better in the final examination than those who didn't. So more time on the virtual learning platform and accessing more activities. Now the Dean has suggested that lecturer performance, look at this, lecturer performance on individual courses should be assessed only on the 2 variables of the amount, there you go, amount spent on the virtual learning platform. That's one variable. The other one, the number of activities accessed by the students. Only on that. Oh, dangerous word, isn't it? Only. I'm thinking straight away that what's bad is that only those 2, I don't like the sound of it. I know that we said in part A we had too many there, and that wasn't great because it's harder to establish a correlation, reliability and all of that. However, having 2 is a very narrow scope, isn't it? I would just say straight away that this is, to me, it seems like the relevance is narrowed here, yeah? Very narrow scope. Only 2 KPIs would be used. And what are those KPIs regarding lecturer performance? Wait a second. Time spent on the platform by students, not by lecturers, and number of activities that students access. That determines lecturer performance? Really? I have the feeling that these do not really reflect the skill, the experience of a lecturer, do you? I mean, it's about the student, not about the lecturer. So I'm going to criticize that even further, yeah? They're likely to lead to unfair tutor assessment. Why? Because firstly, they're not within the tutor's control. Are they? Do you control, as a tutor, how much time your students will spend on the platform and how many activities they will access? You can tell them, but you can't point a gun to their heads and force them to do that, yeah? And being judged on something that is outside of your control, I don't think it's fair. And I hope you will agree with me, because you know I'm always right anyway. Okay, so they're not within the tutor's control, but also they do not reflect the tutor's ability to teach, respond to queries, their experience, and so on, or efficiency if you wish. I'll change it to efficiency, I think it's better, yeah. Basically don't reflect their performance, does it? Also, if you think about it, the amount of time you spend online on the platform, I mean, do you always learn? Do you end up sometimes spending like half an hour and nothing goes into your head, as opposed to another time when for only 10 minutes your mind is so much more switched on and it learns a lot? So I don't think there is a correlation, direct correlation, between the time spent on the platform and learning. So I'll put that down. That's my opinion, at least. You could be there, you could be staring at the screen and nothing could be going in your head, or you could have logged in and not even reading it, because you could be doing something else on your computer, or you might not even be on your computer at all and you could be still logged in and it would be showing like you are online on the platform, but you're not really, and you're not learning. So how is that going to help your performance in the exam? How is that going to mean that your lecturer has performed well. That's ridiculous to me, at least, being a lecturer myself. Anyway, okay, so we got this one down. Any more ideas? Anything good about it? Well, I suppose maybe you could say it would be good if they used that, because lecturers could think carefully. They could put a greater thought about what's going to be uploaded on that platform for students. So it could improve contents on platform uploaded for the students, because lecturers would think carefully about what would help. Also, it could encourage communication and engagement with the platform and the resources. But other than that, I don't know. I mean, don't you think that in their attempt to make students spend longer time on the platform and access more activities so their own performance appears to be good, the lecturer's performance, lecturers could end up uploading a lot of stuff that may not be really needed or helpful to the student's performance? So I'll put that down as a positive negative, yeah? Positive, sorry, as a potential negative, so it doesn't sound weird. Okay, so risk, wait, we can say risk, there is a risk of creating contents not relevant to student success, just so they spend a long time on platform and lecture performance appears to be better. In an attempt to, make those KPIs improve, but it could be not effective, yeah? Or lack of effectiveness, if you wish. Or limited relevance, because that's what it is, isn't it? If something is effective, then it's relevant, and if it's not effective, it's not relevant, however you want to call it. Alright, well, you could keep trying to squeeze any more ideas, but I think we probably have more or less enough if we add the overall as well here. And in fact, the recommendation, I suppose the overall is going to be the recommendation, so I've just decided I'm going to get rid of my overall bit here. And the recommendation, what do we think about this criteria, those two variables? Oh, I've just had an idea, by the way, that how are they going to capture this data? They will capture it, but yeah, there will be a reliable way of capturing it, because it can be easily tracked how much time was spent and how many activities were accessed. So maybe reliable data capture, I'll put in here, yeah, easy to determine time spent and activities accessed. However, problem is the relevance is low, isn't it? Because of those things that we mentioned already. So overall recommendation would be to, what do you think, guys? What would you say? This is poor criteria, it's very narrow, isn't it? Yeah, and as such, using it on its own doesn't seem a good idea. Maybe they can add it to a mix, slightly broader mix, but not use on its own. Yeah, that's what I would say. Poor limited criteria or limited scope criteria to be used on its own, lacking relevance. Or maybe you could consider adding it to a slightly broader mix of KPIs. And there you go, we are done.